right, so I finally played Nier Automata, and spoiler alert, I didn't like it. Just holy fucking shit. I was. You people, okay, you really need to update your playbook. Because, like, I'm not sure why I didn't see through Nier Automata to begin with. Like, it's probably because, like, I generally like Platinum games. I generally like, uh, the stuff they put out. Like, I was hearing all this good stuff about Nier Automata. It was a Japanese game. It was from Square Enix. Like, it was from this smaller developer. Like, um, a lot of people really liked it. I legitimately thought for the longest time that this one might be good. Like, I legitimately was optimistic that this game would eventually come to Switch. I would eventually play it, and I would eventually like fall in love with it, like so many of you have, right? But it came to Xbox One. It came to Xbox Game Pass. I have Xbox Game Pass. I downloaded it immediately. I waited a while before playing it, and when I got around to it, it was very, very, very disappointing. Very, very much so. Like I have no idea what anyone sees in this game, like at all. Like I really do think, like people were generally. This was a 2017 game, right? Much like The Witcher 3 or Yakuza 0 or like a bunch of other games that came out around that time period. Like you had a bunch of companies trying, basically putting out the first batch of really really well received exclusive games for the PS4. So it didn't really matter that these games were all that good or interesting. What matters is that they were like truly next gen. They were truly not PS3 games. Like they were built up for the PS3. They were built for the PS4. They looked better. They sounded better. They were new and exciting, and it was truly a next generation of console, man. But as it so happens, Nier Automata is not very good. Like the combat's not that great. The story isn't that great. The writing isn't that great. The character of 2B isn't that engaging. I don't like the idea. I don't like the way it's presented. I don't like the art style. It's rather drab and uninteresting. I don't like the fucking balls everywhere and how like the enemies just shoot these giant ball blasts at you. Like, I was just wow. What makes this game special? And there's really nothing. Like I looked a little bit online at like these I like what people like about this game, and I do think it really comes down to like one thing is that people were starved. PlayStation fans were starved for new IPs. Like they were straight up starved for anything they hadn't played before. Like I know there was another Nier game. I know there was like an earlier entry, but nobody cared about this one. Like Nier Automata was something that seemed to be new coming out for PlayStation, and it just sort of came out at the right time, where when the industry was desperately trying to downplay the success of Zelda, the Breath of the Wild, and the Switch, in which they were pumping up shit like Persona 5, like Yakuza 0, like this, like trying to promote it as like some of the best stuff ever, like just on the basis of like trying to trying to create this narrative where the PS4 could ever hope to compete with the Switch, right? They failed like really really epically. Not a single game in that lineup really has really stayed the test of time. Like the Yakuza games have gotten worse. Like Persona 5 is rehashed. It's gonna lose out to Fire Emblem eventually, but Persona 5 has gotten an unnecessary re-release. And Nier Automata is just getting a remake of the original. Like that I'm sure not a lot of people are going to buy. Like the same way that people didn't buy Yakuza 0, like the Yakuza sequels, right? Right? Because the game wasn't successful because it was good or interesting or really involved gaming in any way. It was successful because people needed something to be excited about. Like that's the reality. Like these games just come out and are just hyped up because these people have nothing to play, and they sort of gained this cult following for a couple of years before basically being forgotten. And I do think like Nier Automata has been forgotten by this point. Like maybe it has like a very dedicated cult following, but for the most part, I think people have moved on. So what does that mean for the game itself? Well, when you don't have this hype, when you don't have this enthusiasm, when you don't buy into it, when you actually like play the game for what it is, on the Xbox One, on the Xbox Game Pass, like you're not going to enjoy it like nearly as much as some other games you could be playing on the service. Like it's an action RPG. Kingdom Hearts 1 is right there. Like Kingdom Hearts is better than this. Like why bother? Why bother with this shit? And people were talking shit. Like people were telling me the story was engaging. No, it's not. Like there was nothing interesting about the story. There was nothing interesting with the story. Oh, you have to beat the game a bunch of times. Like why would I do that? Like no. Why would I do that? Like if I'm not interested in the characters right from the get go, why would I stick with it for any amount of time? Like I gave it like I gave it a shot. I played it. I wasn't impressed with any aspect of it whatsoever. Like, oh. Yeah, I was like, wait, was there anything I liked about this? Okay, there was one thing I liked about it. The music. I do kind of like the music that the genre that Nier Automata uses. Like, I love that kind of shit. Like, but everything else from like, you know, the plot and how it's handled and like the character of 2B, like not it's not very interesting. Like it really isn't. Um, People are just starved for new video games in the current year.